So we're jumping in the middle of a story again. So you might want to go back and watch last time if you haven't. But the quick recap is there's a guy who was paralyzed for almost 40 years, and Jesus healed him and simply said, take up the mat that you're sitting on and walk away. So that's where we are starting out in today's 5-minute devotional from John 5, beginning in verse 10. So, now that day was the Sabbath. So the Jews said to the man who had been healed, it is the Sabbath, and it is not lawful for you to take up your bed. But he answered them, the man who healed me, that man said to me, take up your bed and walk. They asked him, who is the man who said to you, take up your bed and walk? Now the man who had been healed did not know it was Jesus, before Jesus had withdrawn, as there was a crowd in the place. After Jesus found him in the temple, he said to him, see, you are well. Sin no more, that nothing worse may happen to you. The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had healed him. And this was why the Jews were persecuting Jesus, because he was doing these things on the Sabbath. But Jesus answered them, my Father is working until now, and I am working. This is why the Jews were seeking all the more to kill him, because not only was he breaking the Sabbath, but he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. So, guy's healed. He hasn't been able to walk for almost 40 years. He takes up the thing he's sitting on, and he walks away all happy. And the religious authorities are like, hey, you can't be carrying that now. It's punishable by death. He's like, what? I just got healed, and it's supposed to be a happy thing, and now you're all mad at me? What's the deal here? Oh, man. And they're like, well, okay, so you claim you just got healed. Who did it? He's like, I don't know. He just told me to take up my bed, and he just kind of disappeared into the crowd. So the thing is that rest is a good thing. And God told his people that they need to rest, and we need to rest. And God says, take a day in the week and rest. But over time, people added to that good thing very specific rules around it. And what this guy was breaking was one of those add-on rules. And that's sort of a danger we can have sometimes, is taking a good thing that God says and wrapping it with more rules, and then forgetting the actual thing that God was getting at. So Jesus does find him, and the guy's like, hey, and Jesus like, hey, I healed you. I'm the guy. Don't sin anymore. Nothing else bad's going to happen to you. Now, there was a belief that bad things were directly because of sin all the time, but we know that's not true. Sometimes, even in the Bible, you see that bad things can happen because you do a good thing sometimes, or sometimes they're just random. But in actuality, there are bad things that could happen. So, this could happen today. It couldn't have happened back then, but maybe a person could be paralyzed because they had an accident while drunk driving or something like that. And in that case, it would be because of sin that they were paralyzed. And maybe Jesus would say to them, you got to cut out the drunk driving, or maybe something worse could happen. You might die. So we don't know what this guy's deal was, why he was paralyzed, why it happened. But apparently Jesus knew, and he's like, you got to change some stuff that nothing else worse happens. But look, you're healed, and it's good. But people were mad at Jesus. The authorities were mad at Jesus because he had done this healing. And he had told this guy, he had told him specifically to carry his stuff on the Sabbath. And Jesus' response, it's interesting, wasn't to argue about what's legal or not legal on the Sabbath. He's like, well, my Father's working today on the Sabbath. I'm going to be working too. Whew. Now, in Genesis, God rests after creation. God does rest and demonstrates rest, and Jesus often tried to get away and rest, but there are some works of God that don't rest: justice and mercy and love and compassion. And in Acts 17, it even says that God gives life and breath to everything. Certainly that doesn't rest on the Sabbath. So Jesus is putting his own work here equal with God's work. And he's putting himself equal with God by calling God his Father. And that's making religious authorities even less trusting of him than they were before. And so he's calling God his Father, making himself equal with God, which of course we know, but they didn't know. And Jesus is going to get in trouble even more as we go on here. But we'll see next time.